All right, so let's begin with this big story that we are tracking on our climate tracker now. Pretty much all of us can recall sparrows or other bird species that we do not see anymore. And that could be the future of a lot many more species ahead. As climate tragedies overtake the planet, it's not just the human species that is bearing the brunt. According to the first ever State of the World's Migratory Species Report, more than a fifth of the world's migrating bird species are at the risk of going extinct. Now, the report that was released by the Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species of World Animals, or CMS, a UN biodiversity treaty, outlines a number of concerns. Now, some migratory species listed under CMS are improving, but nearly half show a sharp population decline. More than 1 in 5 of the CMS listed bird species are threatened with extinction in the near future. And nearly all of the CMS listed fish risk extinction. Now, these numbers are mere representation of those listed under the CMS. The unlisted species also face a similar risk worldwide. Approximately 399 migratory birds are threatened or face extinction and are not currently listed under the CMS.
So these are basically species where countries share a responsibility to manage them for conservation. It's no use having one country doing everything it should do if the species are migrating to another country for part of their life cycle where they're being trashed.
To safeguard these species, CMS had listed key biodiversity areas. About 51% do not have protected status, and 58% of the monitored sites face volatility due to extreme levels of human-caused pressure. The two greatest threats to the listed and the unlisted migratory bird species happen to be humans. The 7 out of these 10 species are impacted by overexploitation, and 3 in 4 are affected by loss of habitat due to human activity nearby.
We cannot protect migratory species without multilateralism, without unity, and without transboundary cooperation. So I'm calling on all countries and all parties, all communities, including to work together, including at the upcoming United Nations Environment Assembly, so that we can protect migratory species, so that they survive and thrive. And because when we do, we, humanity, will also survive and thrive.
The measures to protect the flora and fauna have been put in place, but the implementation has lagged over the years. The conservationists are urging the government to honour its 2022 pledge under the new Global Biodiversity Agreement to try and restore land back to nature. That is about 30% of the world's land and sea territories by the year 2030. Now, this latest report by the United Nations makes the concern even more urgent and evident than before. And also earlier we spoke with Mr. Stuart Pym, who was quoted in the United Nations report. He is currently the Doris Duke Chair of Conservation Ecology at the Duke University, and this is what he had to say.
I think it's striking, but then in many ways it's not surprising that the species of birds and mammals that migrate have to go through a lot more danger than species that stay put. So we think of tigers as being a threatened species in India. But one of my favorite areas in India is in the Brahmaputra watershed, the areas around Kaziranga in Assam. And in the wintertime, hundreds of thousands of ducks and geese and cranes winter there. And those species have had to migrate all the way from Siberia. So those species run many greater risks than the species that stay put. And it's perhaps not surprising that a greater fraction of them are threatened with extinction.
And we also asked Mr. Pim as to how climate change is affecting the migratory routes of the birds. Listen to what he had to say.
I think it can interfere in a number of ways. I mean, one of the big changes that's taking place to the north of India on the Tibetan plateau is the Tibetan plateau is getting warmer. It's getting substantially warmer, and that's altering the wetlands there. It's altering the lakes and so on. The glaciers are melting, and all of that sort of changes the natural ecology of that ecosystem. And that's a fairly obvious way in which changes are taking place. But the other way is that when migrants head north to breed in Siberia, they sort of expect conditions to be right when they get there. And what's happening now is that those conditions have changed. They become warmer, spring is coming faster. The small migrant birds, the various kinds of leaf warblers that winter in India, for example, expect to go up into the boreal forest at a time when the caterpillars are hatching. Well, with global warming, they're too late. Things, spring has already happened. So there's a lot of things happening because the seasons are being changed by climate disruption.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.